Tonight, the husband of one of the passengers killed on Bering Air Flight 445 says he would never sue the company because of the value that airline brings to rural Northwest Alaska.
All right, this as more details emerge about what happened the day of the crash that killed 10 people, including the pilot. It was a little more than a year ago, February 6, 2025.
We're looking closely at how the weights and balances of the plane that day were calculated. I spoke with the family of one of those passengers.
She's the love of my life.
Jason and Leanne Ryan were married for almost 30 years.
Our families went to the same church. And then the only time I've been out of Alaska is I served in the Marine Corps. And I came back and I was sitting in church and I was like, Mom, who's that? Dang, she growed up.
Her legacy continues in the lives of her children, her students, and the young teachers she mentored throughout rural Alaska.
Her visit to Unalakleet, she liked doing STEM projects with the kids when she could. So she made slime. And that was her last Facebook post, was making slime.
Jason Ryan says he won't be joining in civil action against Bering Air, as several families now seek damages for wrongful death after the flight was reported overweight the day it crashed. The fiancé of Flight 445 pilot Chad Antle was interviewed by NTSB investigators last spring. In a transcript released on Wednesday, she told them, quote, "He has had issues with them in the past where he had complained about his flights being overweight and basically his concerns were disregarded." She said Antle had made similar complaints to her for the year she knew him. Bering Air attorneys have previously told us they're fully participating in the NTSB investigation. In documents released Wednesday, investigators also report discrepancies in the weight of fuel reported to be on board multiple Bering Air flights the week before the crash. I asked aviation expert Colleen Mondor how a pilot could misreport the amount of fuel on board an aircraft.
Essentially, the pilot is deciding that they don't want to write down as much weight as they have because they don't want the record to reflect how heavy the aircraft was. That would be a general reason why a pilot would do that intentionally. Again, we cannot know the intentions of the pilot involved, however.
Jason Ryan and the other 9 families now finding paths forward without their loved ones.
She's the love of my life and the only woman I've ever been with. And I will not dishonor her by hurting those communities in any way. Period.
Again, beyond telling us they're participating in the NTSB investigation, the attorneys for Bering Air haven't commented on the case. The NTSB investigation to determine the probable cause of this crash continues, with a final conclusion expected likely coming early this summer.
All right, well, new tonight, the crews working on the collapsed Doyon drilling rig 26 say they have moved into a new phase of cleanup and removal. So far, crews have reported recovering more than 1,000 gallons of spilled oil, also diesel.
We've got new photos from Doyon Drilling Incorporated showing the progress that's being made. In a statement today, they said they've started to dismantle the structure. The rig was known as the Beast. It collapsed last month while being moved along a road in the North Slope. Since then, crews have been working on containment and site stabilization. Doyon says once completely dismantled, the rig will be transported to a recycling facility. And a new coordinated effort to combat drug trafficking and the opioid crisis is underway in Alaska. Today at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport, state and federal officials announced significant progress. That includes record drug seizures and fewer overdose deaths.
Between August 2024 and August 2025, Alaska saw a 19% decline in overdose-related deaths. The recent surge operation resulted in the seizures of 115 pounds of methamphetamine and cocaine. Authorities also arrested and charged approximately 60 people linked to trafficking operations. State leaders say Alaska faces unique obstacles. They say traffickers exploit the state's expansive geography and multiple entry points using mail, air cargo, and maritime vessels to smuggle drugs into remote villages. The locations are often hours away from medical help. Governor Mike Dunleavy says breaking up these trafficking networks requires coordination across all levels of law enforcement.
You know, I ran for governor with a mission to improve public safety. That was job one. Over the past 7 years, I've kept my promises to do everything in my power to make Alaska safer.
We seized enough fentanyl to have killed about 2.3 million people. Think about that. That is over 3 times the population of Alaska.
State and federal partnerships are expected to expand through the rest of the year. Increased federal funding is expected.
All right, now let's head up to the Arctic Valley ski area. That's where tubing is available today through Sunday, and it could be what we're looking at now is a good Valentine's Day idea.
It'd be kind of fun, right? Georgina Fernandez is there live now. We're going to get a look at all the fun, our Nights of Lights coverage in a little bit.
But first, let's get to meteorologist Bailey Braun with our forecast.
Absolutely. We all know that this weekend is Valentine's Day, and not only marking that on your calendars, be sure to mark that we do have more snow on the way for western Alaska, all the way into the interior and even in south central. Now in Anchorage, we are seeing a return in these low-level clouds as low pressure does continue to move in through the area. Now I also just wanted to show you what things are looking like on our satellite and radar. Now over southeast, you're looking at a low pressure system sitting right over top of the entire region. This is going to bring more of that wet weather into the weekend, and you can also expect some strong winds to continue overnight. Now you can also notice all across western coastline, this is where we're seeing a lot of weather alerts, both in terms of blizzard warnings and also this winter weather advisory. This is for some high snow accumulations likely, as well as strong winds to continue. Now winds could reach up to 65 miles per hour in this area. And speaking of strong winds, I also wanted to show you that over southeast today, we did have these high wind warnings that expired at 6 p.m. But even though these warnings have expired, it's important to be aware that the likelihood of gusts between 45 and 65 miles per hour could continue into the overnight hours, especially as that low pressure system sits right over top of the region. Now, as we look ahead for the entire state, we're mostly paying attention to these much chillier wind chills for the North Slope. High temperatures are only sitting about 20 to 23 degrees below zero, and that wind chill is going to reach as cold as negative 65 degrees. But across western Alaska, this is where we're really expecting more of that brunt of that frontal system to hit, and that's where we're really going to expect to see winds picking up as well as that winter weather continuing. But in south central, we're also going to pay attention to more snow on the way. And now that you know what's ahead, we'll see what Georgina Fernandez is up to at Arctic Valley Ski Area.
Yeah, Bailey, a lot of fun going on out here. Now, they said the snow they got actually earlier this week slowed it a little bit down the tubing area. So if you're a little bit timid about going too fast, don't worry. The snow is making it nice and smooth for you. But we've definitely been seeing more people coming here the last few hours as they kick off their first day of tubing for the week. So tubing happens here on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They do 4 sessions on the weekdays and 5 on the weekends. And something special going on holidays. So for President's Day on Monday, they open up again and they have 5 sessions. And this weekends typically do really sell out. They have a cap of 60 people, and sometimes when you come to the building, they don't want to have tickets. So you gotta buy them online if you really want to make sure you got a spot for tubing this weekend. They're almost sold out, and they also say that you need no skill sets to do this. Anyone can come out. All you just have to be is 3 years old, and definitely a fun family activity or something just do with friends this weekend. John, Augusta?
All right. Georgina Fernandez, what a great assignment. We got to get Augusta out
Tough
there.
one, yeah, no kidding. I was telling John I should have got a Valentine.
Hey, well,
Next
there's
year.
still time.
The Yukon Quest Alaska 750 enters its 6th day with 5 mushers remaining in the race. 1 competitor scratched on Sunday night. So here's a look at how things stand now.
All right, reigning champion Jeff Dieter and Josie Shelley. They've been real close. Shelley pulled into the Yukon River Bridge checkpoint at 1:40 for a 24-hour mandatory rest. The Yukon River Bridge checkpoint, about 439 miles into the race, considered the unofficial halfway point of the route. Jeff Dieter also at that checkpoint. He got there about 2 hours behind Shelley. Jonah Bacon rounding out the top 3 about 400 miles into the race by around 3 p.m. And then father-son team Jason and Patrick Mackey, they were at the Beaver checkpoint around that same time, almost 350 miles into the trail. And here's another quick look at the live leaderboard. This is as of 5 p.m. You can see Dieter and Shelley at that halfway point. Bacon and the Mackeys look to gain a little ground. toward the back half of the race.
Very cool. And up in Fairbanks, the Yukon Quest Alaska is in the process of moving its headquarters and gift shop out of a cabin by the Chena River, where it's been located for more than 15 years.
Yeah, according to the race's board president, a number of reasons caused the move, including the space needing upgrades, also foot traffic slowing down in that area. The gift shop and headquarters will be splitting up. The store is currently being transitioned to the Co-op Plaza, about 2 streets down from the cabin. The headquarters itself expected to get an office that has not yet been secured.
It's never easy when people are so used to the way things used to be or the way they've always done things. But we have to, if we're going to move forward and have a future for the Yukon Quest Alaska, we have to shift gears into what's going to be best for this organization and help it grow.
Yukon Quest Alaska officials expect to be out of the cabin by May 1st. Officials with the city of Fairbanks, which owns the cabin, are discussing leasing the space out, maybe a restaurant and bar. It would be part of their plan to revitalize downtown Fairbanks.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.